a box from Pickleball Central. Care to guess what's in it? Hey everybody, my name is CJ Johnson. Our friends at Pickleball Central sent me 3 different paddles for 3 different types of players. I'm going to check out, see what's in the box, give you my initial impressions, and then we'll take it out onto the court and tell you how they play. All right, so the very first paddle, which comes with a nice paddle cover, is the Tyro Rally. This is for players who are new to the game. Our second paddle in the box also comes with a nice paddle cover, is the Versix 6C Plus. And this paddle would be more for players who they've been playing for a while, but they're not necessarily avid players. They're not playing several times a week. And then our last paddle here in the box, no paddle cover for this one. This is a Paddletek, it's the GTO-C, it's a 14.3 millimeter. This would be for a player who's playing fairly seriously. They're playing multiple times a week. So let's pull them out of their packages and see what they're like. We've got them out of the box and it's time for some initial impressions. So the first one I'm going to grab is for players who don't play frequently. Maybe you're new to the game or just haven't fallen in love with it yet. You're not addicted. One of the first things that I'm going to notice about this paddle is I like to hold the paddle. What does it feel like in my hand? What do I notice about the swing weight? First thing I notice with this paddle is the size of the grip. It has a little smaller grip width-wise, which is great for players that have smaller hands. You can always make a grip larger by simply putting on an overwrap. Sometimes it's more challenging to make a big grip smaller. So nice small grip. This paddle has a very light overall weight. I think it's somewhere around 7 ounces in terms of static weight. But more important to me than static weight is swing weight. And swing weight means, what does it feel like when it's in motion? Where do you feel the weight? And sometimes there are some paddles that happen to be more head heavy. They have more weight on this end of the paddle. Now, if you're smaller in the forearms, that can be problematic. I mean, think about, I know 7 ounces, 8 ounces doesn't sound like a lot, but if you're playing for several hours at a time, several days a week, that swing weight, that head weight, can really add up. And what I notice about this paddle is it has a very, very light feel. Very light feel. All right. That's the first one. Now let's take a look at the Versix 6C Plus. And a couple of things that I notice about the Versix right away when I picked it up, I could feel some grit on the face, whereas with the Tyro, I didn't feel any grit on the face. So just a guess that this might help me spin the ball a little bit more. The paddle grip is a thicker one. Nice grip on it, nice and tacky grip on it. This is an elongated paddle, so what you'll notice here is the Tyro has a more traditional shape. You can tell that the Versix is longer, and you can see if you look over here, it's a little bit thinner lengthwise. Again, that's because of that elongated shape. Overall, weight-wise, this is a little bit heavier paddle, and I am feeling more head weight in this paddle, which I would expect to, because this is an elongated paddle. Nice initial feel. We'll see what it plays like. We'll see how heavy it plays. Next one, the Bantam GTO-C. I play with the Bantam ALW, the Annalee Waters version. This has a slightly different shape. You might be able to see it's curved in here at the sides. This is also an elongated paddle, a little extra room here up at the top, a little wider at the top, and then it kind of slims down, so it's not quite this square-ish shape. I guess I would say more it's not quite that shape. It curves in just a little bit. I have to say, I like the pink. I like the colors. As you can tell, I'm a color kind of girl. The grip is about the same size as the Versix, but it is a nicer material. It is a little bit thicker, little bit more feel to the grip itself. One of the things I noticed right away is head heavy. This paddle definitely has a little bit more weight towards the end of the paddle. And again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It can be for some people. I'm particularly sensitive to head heavy paddles. I want a paddle that has a relatively light swing weight. The heavier the paddle gets, the heavier the swing weight is, the more I feel it in my arm. So, all right, that's my initial impressions. Let's go take them for a spin. Let's put these paddles through their paces. We'll start with some dinks. I've got the Tyro Rally here. This is for the occasional player, and maybe somebody who's just new getting into pickleball. Definitely is a little firmer than I'm used to, but it's nice construction. I mean, it's good quality. It's definitely a little thinner paddle. So it has a little bit of a firmer feel, but the ball actually comes off the paddle very nicely. I can easily control that ball. Let's see if I can spin it. So let's try this. I can spin it, but I will tell you this, there's not any grit on the face, so it's not like I'm getting a lot of help spinning the paddle, but overall it has a very nice feel. Hits the dinks pretty well. All right, so now I have the Versix 6C Plus in my hand. And as I said, when I took this out of the package, one of the things that I noticed was grit on the face. So I'm gonna guess that will help me spin the ball a little bit more than the other paddle. It's thicker, so it definitely has a different feel, as well as the more traditional sound that I'm used to. Has a nice feel. Grip's a little thicker, as I said, thicker than the Tyro. Good feel, very nice feel. Easy to control the ball. Let's see, here we go. Yeah. Let's see if I can spin this one. So I can tell you that the grit definitely will help to spin the ball a little bit, put a little bit more. Oh, not a good one there, but put a little bit more overspin, top spin on the ball. Yeah, super nice feel up here at the NVZ. Let's go ahead and let's get the other paddle. All right, so I've got the Paddletek GTO. I do notice this is head heavier. It's much more head heavy than either of the other two paddles. And this paddle is designed for the player who's playing more often. The bug has bit you, you're playing probably 2-3 hours a week, or 2-3 hours several times during the course of the week. One of the things I notice is I have a lot more control, a lot more feedback from the paddle, just because of how it's constructed. So a lot of feedback. Let's see on the roll. Definitely a lot of touch, lots of control. This is way easier to control than either of the other two paddles. Nice feel, overall real solid. Well, let's go ahead and let's try some ground strokes. All right, let's hit some ground strokes. I'm gonna go back to the Tyro first. It definitely has a different sound to it. It is, it's a little louder, but feel-wise, it's got a pretty nice feel to it. As I said, grip on this one is a little small. Don't have any problem getting it to the back half of the court. That one not so good. Let's try that backhand a little bit. Feels pretty decent. I guess it's a little shorter than the shots that I normally hit. Like, I have to put a bit more effort into it to get it to the back of the court. But again, this is for that player who just doesn't play a lot. Nice solid construction, good feeling paddle. Let's try the Versix. All right, so now I've got the Versix in my hand. I would imagine that I'm not going to have to put as much effort into this shot to get it to fly quite as far, and that's pretty accurate. It has a nice feel to it, definitely a different sound. Now, not a ton of feedback. Sorry, there's a little wind here and it's knocking some of the balls down. Not as much feedback as the paddle that I play with, which is the Bantam ALW. But it has a really nice feel, pretty easy to top spin the ball and definitely get it deep enough. It's definitely a heavier swing weight. It's an elongated paddle, so I'm seeing a little bit more on the end, but not anything that's really made me feel uncomfortable. Let's go ahead and try the Bantam. All right, so I've got the Bantam GTO. I can tell you this, definitely feel more swing weight with this paddle. It's heavier on the end. It has a little bit more pop to it as well than the other two paddles. Here we go. Get it under control here. Definitely don't have to put as much into it as I did the other two paddles. This definitely has a lot more power. The grit on the face, it's easier to spin the ball. Little downwind here. And I've got to get a little control on this here. One of the things I notice about the Bantam is with the heavier swing weight, I feel a little stress in my forearm. As I mentioned, I'm a bit sensitive to swing weight. I like paddles that have a lighter swing weight because I've had some issues of actually golfer's elbow. So that's why I tend to gravitate towards paddles with less swing weight. Still has a great feel, but for me personally, the head weight is, or the swing weight is a negative. All right, so the quick rundown. This paddle, the Tyro paddle, I think right now this is around a $30, $35 paddle. It is an amazing paddle for that price point. If you are newer to the game or you just don't play a lot and aren't ready to invest in a paddle yet, this paddle feels great. I'd probably put a little different overwrap on the grip to make that feel a little bit better, but it's a quality, well-constructed paddle. I did say it has a little bit higher noise level, so if you are playing at a facility where that's an issue, noise level, this may not be the best choice for you, but overall, fantastic paddle. The next one, the Versix 6C+. At first I was a little concerned about the swing weight with this paddle. I thought it felt a little head heavy, and because it's elongated, it's typically going to have a little heavier swing weight. But it didn't play heavy. I thought it felt really nice. There's some grit, which made it easier to spin the ball. It's a little thicker paddle, not a ton of feedback on the paddle. It's certainly not kind of the feedback that you would get from a higher end paddle, but in this price point, this is really an amazing paddle. I think this is about a $75 price point, and this is for somebody who's started to play a little bit more, you're playing a little bit more frequently, but you're not up to 2 or 3 times a week, this would be a fantastic choice. I would change out the overgrip, put a little bit better overgrip on this paddle, but out of the box, plays really solid. The last one, the Paddletek Bantam. I really wanted to like this paddle, the GTO-C, because like I said, I'm playing the ALW 14.3. I love that paddle. I think they're probably in that same price point, and I would have to tell you, for me personally, I would give a nod to the ALW. I think it's a fantastic paddle. To me, that one has a lot more feedback to it, a lot more feel. Now, if somebody likes a little bit more head weight, right, a little bit more swing weight, I'm going to say a tennis player, I think this might be the paddle for you, because you definitely are going to feel a little bit more swing weight with this paddle. It's more than I would like, but again, if you come from a tennis background, I think this paddle might be in your wheelhouse. Great quality construction, of course it spins the ball nice, quality grip, feels great. For me personally, like I said, it's just a little head heavy, but I definitely think that there are players who will love this paddle, and of course, love the pink color. Thank you, Pickleball Central, for sending these paddles over. If you'd like more information about any of these paddles, click in the description down below. It'll take you right to each specific paddle. And if you're in the market for a new paddle and maybe one of these 3 doesn't sound like the best fit, Pickleball Central has hundreds of paddles, and there is one sure to fit your game.